Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Discussing Trek. But not only discussing Trek this week, this week is going to be a joint venture along with discussing who and what might we be talking about
Oh,
tonight,
I don't
Kyle.
know. Maybe need to say something like the Discussing Network presents Discussing Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Kyle Jones, and I want to turn it back over to Clarence Brown. How was that, sir?
It's pretty darn good. You might do this for a living or something, I would say.
Yeah, indeed.
But this does tell us that tonight we're going to be talking about Doctor Who and Star Trek as it pertains to the San Diego Comic Con. All of the happenings, news, announcements, trailers. We're going to try to cover it all in this episode. So I'm excited about that. What about you, Cal?
Indeed, indeed. San Diego Comic Con, I know we've got New York Comic Con is the other big con in the United States, but it seems like San Diego Comic Con is the event Comic Con.
Yeah.
I mean, you may be, no spoilers here, but you may find yourself doomed sometime in Hall
Mm.
H. I know that's not Star Trek or Doctor Who, but you could be, first steps of Fantastic in Hall H.
So what you're telling me is you were excited by the Marvel announcements at the Comic Con. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, but you know what I'm even more excited about? Marvel announcements notwithstanding, Tasha Pierce, after the Snap movies and TV, has a new computer that she has figured out how to join us on.
Hold your applause, everybody. Hold your applause. Oh
Oh,
my
well, thank
goodness.
you for beaming in with your new computer and having technical difficulties and the time warp. I told you to get the dog off your computer.
Reverse the polarity of the neuron flow. That's
There you
that's
go.
yeah.
Hey,
It's better late than never. I had to make a stylish entrance.
indeed, 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 indeed. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And with that, let me just say, everyone, you can actually subscribe to Tasha by going to After the Snap Movies TV. If you're into anything geek related, it is covered there. And she has other channels too. I'll let her plug those later if she wants to. But she does it all. She does it all. But of course, we're here, like we said, to talk about Doctor Who and Star Trek. We're going to start off with the Star Trek portion of things, the Star Trek Universe panel. And first off, we got something that was pretty shocking to me, and I don't quite know how I feel about it. Tony Newsom and Justin Simeon announced a collaboration for a new Star Trek comedy series. Oh, oh, It, okay, I'm just now getting used to Lower Decks. I don't know how I'm going to feel about a live action Star Trek comedy series. And just a bit more details about about this. The show will be set in the 25th century, according to the official log line. The Federation outsiders serving a gleaming resort planet find out that their day-to-day exploits are being broadcast to the entire quadrant. Uh, I don't even know what any of that means. Tasha,
It
you
sounds
brought up
like a
Rise Up before. What? How
yeah.
do you feel about this?
It sounds like it's going to be like a kind of riff on a reality show. And this is
Mm.
interesting to me because we don't see too many instances where we have them represented watching television or that sort of thing in live action Trek. We just they've evolved beyond needing the television. So now this being broadcast means that there's cameras got to be everywhere watching them. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that it would be interesting if it were Risa, if the planet were Risa.
Hmm.
But do we want this, Kyle? Do we want?
I'm open for anything, honestly. I mean, we had Lower Decks, and I have grown to like Lower Decks. I went both ways, but I've grown to accept and like Lower Decks. So I'm literally open to anything. So I think if any type of content, look at how many times we talk about Doctor Who doing so many different types of genre because it can go from horror to sci-fi to historical. So why can't Star Trek? Why can't Star Trek do something comedic? And doesn't that not also add a layer of humanity? Because if all you get is drama, in a way that's a little bit depressing. And if you really want to think about it, as great a character as Data was, he was in a way on TNG for comic relief.
To some extent. I mean, usually the comedy is thrown in there, which is how I like my Star Trek comedy to take place. But I'm open to it. I kind of feel in my bones I'm not gonna like it. Let's see if it even gets made at this point. Who
Right.
knows?
I was going to say we might be jumping ahead because they announce things and then they pull the plug on stuff so often that we might be getting ahead of ourselves. But with Tawny Newsome attached,
Yeah.
and we know what kind of humor it's going to be, so you already established that in your mind. This wouldn't be mostly for us, I think, the
Mm.
hardcore. This is going to be to attract that new audience and then reel them in with this funny stuff and then maybe get them to watch some of the older stuff.
So let me ask you guys something. We're assuming this is comedy for comedy's sake, but what if we did a Star Trek series a la Big Brother, let's say, where you have all of these aliens living in the house and they have the head of household, the whole kit and caboodle, whether it is Survivor, whether it's Big Brother, whatever, Amazing Race, whatever the case may be. But the comedy is, it's treated seriously, but the comedy is it's these aliens. It's these
Mm.
aliens from Star Trek in a scenario that's not Star Trek. And the comedy is not slapstick. The comedy comes from those characters or types of characters in what we consider reality TV settings. Thoughts?
Yeah, I can agree with that. As long as it's not slapstick, I think I can at
Right.
least kind of be on board with it because I've seen too much in the other direction. I mean, even quite honestly, even something in the tone of an Orville or something like that might work well. Just a little bit comedic there.
There's a series that's I always forget. I think it's on HBO Max called White Lotus. Have
Mm,
either of you ever
Yeah,
watched or heard
absolutely.
of it?
Yes.
I've not.
Yes.
That is what I would, if I were pitching this show, I would pitch it in that vein, like
Mm.
the White Lotus. It takes itself, it seems to take itself very seriously, but we are cracking up at the dark humor of it
But
all.
but that goes as far as the spectrum goes. It is not your tweens and your 18,
Right.
13 to 18. You're looking at your 35, 20, 35 plus. It's definitely adult White Lotus. But I get it. I totally
And I
get
look
what you're
at Tawny
saying.
Newsome is what, 41?
Yes.
So she's I mean, to me she's a young lady, but she's in that generation where they need to tap into that kind of raunchier humor, and I don't know why. This is something that's become the status quo for that age range. And if our assumptions are correct and it's set on Risa, that is the
Yeah,
perfect setting for that type of stuff to go on, and it just wouldn't be for a young audience.
it would definitely be salacious to say the least. So let's move on to another announcement, more information on a project that honestly, when I saw this teaser trailer, I was a bit befuddled on what I was actually watching because I mean, even from Beyonce Formation playing to some of the graphics they were throwing on the screen, I'm like, what is even going on here? I am so lost. And what I'm talking about is the Section 31 teaser trailer that we got at the Comic Con. Michelle Yeoh is back. We saw a younger Michelle Yeoh. We saw the cast of characters, Amari Hardwick, Sam Richardson. We even saw our Rachel Garrett character, Casey Roll. Uh, just a good smattering of actors, interesting performances, but just the tone of it just felt off for me. Tasha, how did you feel about the Section
And
31
see,
trailer?
I think I got myself wrapped up, and this is typical Tasha. I got myself wrapped up in what was going on in the mirror universe side of that. I really don't remember a lot of the footage from the present day side. I was looking at the mirror universe side of the young Giorgio, and trying to figure out the machinations of that. They're obviously going to explore a past, and we're seeing, of course, the young lady that's playing young Georgia, who I don't have her name written right here, and she's looks like she is knighting someone, and you remember that
Yep.
she was said to have had a son. So I'm more interested in that side of the exploration, other than rather than trying to dig into the Section 31 side so much. But that Section 31 is the point of the movie, and I might be in the minority there.
Uh, Kyle, let me throw a few tidbits at
Okay.
you from the panel, and I just want to get your reaction to these. And I'm gonna go through the list and then you can get your reactions. So from the panel, spy movie ties into Trek lore. Um, Guardians of the Galaxy on steroids. Um, Alex Kirksman and uh, Tunde, Olatunde Asasami, wanted to make a messy version of the Star Trek world. I'm throwing all those things at you. How does it make you feel to see JoJo with her continuing adventures with in the light of all of these circumstances?
2 words for you.
Okay.
Michelle Yeoh.
So she can do no wrong is what
Thank
you're
you.
saying. Okay.
I
Well,
No, seriously,
I
you
agree.
took a character that was made to be evil, and I know they made her likable, toward the end, but I fell in love with this character. I love the devilness, the evilness, the complicit but kind. I can't wait for her to be in a spy movie, to turn Trek on its ear, to do all those things, because I think she is such an awesome actor in herself that she could read, you know, the phone book and make it interesting.
hmm.
Yeah.
Tasha, any additional thoughts? This movie is slated for a premiere in 2025. Any thoughts before we move on about this Section 31?
Just the descriptions, the descriptors that you read, they are a bit concerning, because it took a special director in James Gunn to make Guardians of the Galaxy, work, talking raccoons and the such.
Yeah.
But do we think that Olatunde Osunsami and the writers on them deserve the opportunity to at least try?
Mm. Olatunde has had some all the tentpole Star Trek, whatever you think of Star Trek Discovery, the tentpole big bombastic Star Trek Discovery episodes. He helmed those projects. So, I mean, with a good script, this is written by Craig Sweeney. It could possibly be something special, but again, I don't know. This is basically the Paramount Plus equivalent of the made for TV movie in a
Mhm.
sense. In a sense. And I don't know, just some of the branding in this trailer and the tone of the trailer just had me just a little bit worried. But again, we have great actors here on board. Even Sam Richards' character is playing a chameleoid, which is
Mhm.
shapeshifter. So yeah, I'm interested in it. I think it could be good, but yeah, I guess I'll wait with bated breath. I guess. I don't know.
You know what I find really, really interesting is this seems to be, and not specifically your comments as you as a viewer, Clarence, but your thoughts, the way you framed it, of this is different. This is, I don't know if I'm going to like this and whatnot. And it seems like it's a throwback of something that we're seeing to Doctor Who as well, which is, I'm traditional. Give me what I'm used to. Give
Mm,
me Trek. Give me Who, and don't try to think outside the box.
hmm.
And I'm not accusing you of being
Yeah.
in that
No.
mindset, because you were all on board, Who's specific on a lot of the things that they did different this year. But it just reminded me when you were saying, like, we're afraid as a fandom, don't go too far from Star Trek.
Well,
Don't go too far from Who.
that's always the thing for me. I mean, I want them to try new things, but you can just lean a little bit too far into something different, and it's a whole nother show at that point. And I'm gonna come back to that a little bit later, but we got to get to the Who stuff. But let's talk about the first look for Strange New Worlds, where it got a little bit of ire. So we see that Chapel is using a reverse of the serum that they used on Spock in the last season to make him completely human. They used it to make everybody else, or at least who was it? Was it Uhura, Chapel? Wow, I can't remember
Pike and
Christina Chong's
Pike.
character,
Yeah.
Lon and Pike. They changed them into Vulcans for this very short away mission. I mean, very short. They were so efficient they did it in a matter of seconds. They completed the away mission. Um, but this got a little bit of ire of how they were treating Spock because now they're elite Vulcans, I guess, at this point. But that really didn't bother me that much. To me, it was par for the course. Anything Dr. McCoy was doing to Spock was way worse. So I have to wait for the whole episode. But I did enjoy this little snippet, and I'm gonna turn it over to you guys. But other quick tidbits: we know we're gonna have Dr. Roger Corby coming into this next season, played by Cillian O'Sullivan, and yeah, and we're gonna have Scotty for the full season. So interesting stuff there. What did you guys think of the first look? And are you excited for Strange New Worlds, which again is going to be coming in 2025? Thoughts?
You want to start with me?
Yeah. What you got, Tosh?
I wasn't particularly impressed with this. Clip. And of course, I wasn't leaning towards the controversy that we've seen in from other creators, but it just didn't do anything for me. And I don't know if maybe subconsciously I was feeling like those others were, but this clip didn't excite me anymore because I'm already excited for the season. But it didn't get me any more excited than I already was, and it was a clip.
What about you guys?
So I'll take that clip and add to what you said. I'm already excited because I love the show, so I'm 100% agreeing with you. Oh, cool. Very cool. So I am 100% agreeing with you, but I thought it was funny, because I thought it was a good play on how Vulcans probably see Spock anyway. So it's not something that he's not used to. And I thought it was interesting having these characters who were all the other direction of what Spock is 50% of, now being the other direction of the 50% of what Spock is, and how they instantly changed how they, referred to him as we're the pure Vulcans. I thought it was just a kind of clever and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that made me go, oh, I can't wait for next season. It was just like, oh, cool clip.
Well, can you guys wait, or are you ready for October 24th when we're going to get the fifth and final season of Star Trek Lower Decks? We got a little teaser trailer for that. The trailer in particular didn't really jump out at me. There's a few interesting scenes in it, but I think more importantly, the log line for this season is saying they're going to be tasked with closing space potholes. So subspace rifts, which are causing chaos, excuse me, the Alpha Quadrant, pothole duty, so to speak. We did get an interesting scene in the trailer where we see an alternate reality version of the Cerritos. I thought that was pretty interesting. So if we can keep that up for the entire season, everything's got to be multi-universe these days. But that was very interesting to me. So I'm wondering how far they're going to lean into it. We saw a lot of Klingon stuff in the trailer as well. Tasha, what were your thoughts on the Lower Decks trailer?
Far more interested in what's going on there than I was in the Strange New World trailer. Because we know that this has got to be the closeout for these characters and sort of a saying goodbye to them. But they did make it interesting, especially with this last hurrah that we're getting from them. The fact that we may have to deal with an Orion war, furious Klingons, diplomatic catastrophes, murder mysteries. So those are things that those elements speak to me. And that's going to make me a little more excited for this season.
So for me, the clips that they showed with the voiceover and the way they made it this grand movie, like, the final voyage, and that deep voice, that was all so cool. But what got my attention more than anything was the quote unquote mirror look at them. I don't know, it wasn't mirror universe, but seeing these characters that are so whatever you want to call them and seeing them as the opposite of that, I think is really, really interesting. So that episode alone is something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, after the last season of Lower Decks, I'm open to whatever they give me. I mean, just don't crap on Voyager. But other than that, I'm open to whatever they give. If they can keep up the pace of what happened in the last season, I think we're in good hands. And again, it's kind of surprising that they're ending the series after they had such a strong season. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see.
Can I say one more thing about Lower Decks? A hope that something I hope doesn't happen is that I don't want to see them regress Mariner's character. She's had this growth from over last season, and I don't want her to become all serious all of a sudden, but just don't make her season 1 Mariner again.
Yeah. Yeah, she was a bit unbearable for me in season one, but I love the growth last season. But like you said, if they can continue in that path, still have her slapstick stuff because it's not going to change the nature of the person she is, but still show continued growth. So if they can do that, I think they will. I will be pleased with what's going on.
So let me ask you guys a question. Do you think at the end they will go their separate ways?
Mm, maybe.
Because we do have another part of that log line that ends saying the scariest thing that they're facing of all is their own career aspirations.
Mm,
So to me, that points to them all going in different directions, and maybe hopefully us seeing them somewhere else down the line. But it does point in that direction.
Mm.
And Wingrace is saying that the trailer was a shot-for-shot recreation of the motion picture promo from back in the day with Lower Deck stuff. I did not notice that. Cool. That's pretty amazing. And to your point, I kind of like to skip though the first 30 seconds because of the voiceover. I'm like, let me see the good stuff. But I have new appreciation now that you mentioned that because I definitely did not notice. Um, our last topic in the Star Trek realm is going to be Star Trek Academy. I don't know how much you people know what I know this panel knows, but everybody else listening know what Star Trek Academy is. So I'll give a brief rundown of what it is. Star Trek Academy will follow the adventures of a new class of Starfleet cadets as they come of age in one of the most legendary places in the galaxy. The series will introduce viewers to a group of cadets as they come together to pursue a common dream of hope and optimism. Ooh, that makes me feel good right there. Under the watchful and demanding eyes of their instructors, they will discover what it takes to become Starfleet officers as they navigate blossoming friendships, explosive rivalries, first loves, and a new enemy that threatens both the Academy and the Federation itself. Uh, Guys, we got some pretty big news in the Star Trek Academy realm with the addition of legacy actors coming in. Of course, we have Tig Notaro, we have Oded Fur, Vance, and wow,
Mary Wiseman.
what's Tig Notaro's character?
Oh,
Reno.
Reno from Discovery, also Mary Wiseman, Tilly from Discovery, and surprisingly, Robert Picardo from Star Trek Voyager and Prodigy coming on board our very own EMH for this season. Uh, Thoughts on some of the news and happenings from San Diego Comic Con as pertains to Star Trek Academy? Kyle, do you have any?
yeah.
Any?
Well, I like everything that I've seen. I've liked the cast pictures that we've seen. I've liked the synopsis. But I have a question: is the character definitely going to be the EMH, or will he be playing a new character altogether? Have they confirmed or said yay or nay?
As far as I know, they haven't said anything other than announcing Robert Picardo on board. Have you heard anything, Tasha?
I thought, I could just have inferred this, but I thought I saw the doctor, but
Yeah.
I could have just inferred it because I saw his name and
Mhm.
automatically assumed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to the legacy actors we just mentioned, we got mention of the cadets, Karis Brooks, Bella Shepherd, and George Hawkins, and two other characters, Carmen Diane and Zoe Steiner, and of course we have the big heavy hitters of Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti on board. So Yeah, they are stacking the deck here. It's looking good. Uh, in the actual Star Trek universe panel, though, there was a tidbit that made me just perk up a little bit and go, that sounds pretty interesting. I want to know what these guys think. So, Noga Landau, if I'm saying the name correctly, she's one of the showrunners for Star Trek Academy along with Alex Kurtzman. She said at the panel, quoting here, "Well, I won't give too much away about the show, but I do think that we're kind of finding a new format, which is interesting, kind of a hybrid format, which I'm very excited about. A hybrid format, new format for a Star Trek show. I've preached about not wanting teenage angst Star Trek, uh, which I don't think we're going to get that. Honestly, with these actors we got on board, I don't think we'll get that to a certain extent. But does that give you pause to hear a new and exciting format for a franchise that's been around so long? Tasha, what do you
You
think?
know how I feel about this, and I preach, and I know it sounds redundant, but somebody will hear it for the first time, and that is Star Trek needs to go on after I'm not here anymore. And if in
Mm,
order to do that, if you have to uh, attract a different audience that consumes TV the way television is made today and make it interesting for them, let's do what we have to do. But like you said, and I agree with 100%, do not stray so far away from the path that we can't find our way back to what
yeah,
makes Star Trek Star Trek. So if there is a hybrid, way of melding these two worlds of the way we used to consume television and the way these young people are consuming it today, if there's a hybrid way to do that, then let's try it. And
mm,
yeah, so that we can see Star Trek. Well, even if I'm not here to see it, I want Star Trek to live on.
mm.
Mm, well said.
Any additional thoughts, Cal?
No, I like the idea of the entire show. I'm excited to see Mary Wiseman back. I mean, I really like Tilly's character toward the end, and whether it's reprising the role of the Doctor or if it's a different incarnation or whatever he might be, I'm you know I'm interested. That's my thing. And Tasha, I think you said it very, very well. Yes, we can be traditionalists. Yes, we can like what we like. But if there's not a new generation coming in watching it that's going to be buying whatever buying is, why continue to make the show?
Mhm.
Yeah, cool beans.
Can I add
And
one more thing,
yeah,
or
go
just
for it.
ask one more question? Were you guys surprised that Tig Notaro and Robert Picardo are the series regulars, and Wiseman and Fair are
Mm.
the recurring guest roles? Because that was a shocker for me.
It's
Mm.
I guess I didn't pick that up. It's interesting that Tig Notaro would be a regular because she wasn't a regular on
Mhm.
Star Trek. I mean on Discovery. Partly because she didn't want to move to Toronto, I think may have been part of the reason. And she had other engagements. So maybe her schedule was just opened up. That's very interesting. Vance, kind of par for the course with him. I didn't really expect him to be full time, but Mary Wiseman, I definitely expected to be on each and every episode.
I thought it was her show. I
Yes.
thought this
Yeah,
was going to be her show. And to
yeah.
find out she's just, going to be a recurring guest, it's like, okay, now we're centering on the funny. Tig Notaro, Robert
Yeah,
Picardo, we're
yeah.
centering on the funny. So how are we going to read this? Is it going to be a young adult drama or young adult comedy?
Or even their interactions with the younger cadets probably could make more for a more conducive writing for something that kind of flows a little bit better versus but
Mm.
Mary Wiseman is pretty funny too. So I don't know. I really don't know the reasoning there.
So let me ask you this now, beyond Vance, because he's going to be the exception to what I'm about to
Yeah,
say. But
definitely.
if a lot of these character actors that are coming in playing these actors are toward the younger generation, regardless of how you package Mary Wiseman, I think she would look more aligned as the look of her as a student rather than a teacher. per
Mm,
se, as opposed to, and no offense to these two actors, but if you look at Robert Picardo or Tig Notaro, they would have more of a teacher look.
presence, yeah. And I have to think that maybe the original plans shifted once they were like, "What? We can get Holly Hunter for Star Trek? Bring her in." Sorry, Mary Wiseman. Well, we can get Paul Giamatti. Yeah, we're gonna bring him in too. Eh. So I definitely think plans may have shifted, and also if you can get online and see the offer announcements for some of the actors, it is very touching. They got them on the call and they just let them know that they had the role. There's some
Oh, if you
pretty
could send
touching
us a
things
link
there.
to that, that would be awesome because I tried to find that and couldn't find it.
Yeah, I will do that. But it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, the things are flutter in the Star Trek universe. Tasha, Cal, did you have anything else on the Star Trek side you want to hit real quick before we kind of go into our Doctor Who coverage?
Star Trek Prodigy on digital demand now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it
Mm.
became on digital demand on July 29th. You can get the Blu-ray and DVD on November 12th. And Star Trek Prodigy, I'm on season 2, by the way. So the latest season, you can get that already. I'm going to continue to push Star Trek Prodigy because it is the crown jewel right now of the things that's
Absolutely the
going
crown
on
jewel.
in Star Trek.
Yep.
Took the words right out of my
And I
mouth.
think it is the perfect balance of where you can balance kid friendly, younger friendly with adult, but not being too adult.
Right.
Cool.
And Patty Yasutuke, did we talk about her already? Because I
No.
did step in late. Patty Yasutake, who played
Oh
Nurse
yeah.
Ogawa, passed away.
Mm,
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was on,
Yeah.
of course, TNG actor. So rest in peace to her, and just wonderful that she was able to touch our hearts through her performance on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I was sad to see that in the news.
Yeah, and it hurt my feelings too.
So, guys, of course, I'm gonna give a call to action real quick and say you can support this show by subscribing, leave a review, telling a friend. When I say this show, I'm talking about discussing who and discussing Trek. If you have review ideas, send that in along with anything else you want us to know at discussing who or at discussing Trek on the social medias and discussing who at gmail.com via email or feedback at discussingtrek.com. Cal, let's get into it, man. Doctor
so
Who.
so as we get into it, I will channel our friend Lee Shackelford, who always likes to say on Discussing Who, unless I forget to say it, which is, thank you for being here. You did not have to do this. You could be doing other things. You could be, as I was reading and got distracted a little bit earlier, you could be like Lee Shackelford on a plane headed to Seattle to see none other than our friend. I hope I am not just blasting this out left, right, and center, but none other than our friend that you hear me talk about a lot on Discussing Who, Shannon Perry. So, hello, Shannon, when you're hearing this in the future. And hello, Lee, while you are away visiting in Seattle, Shannon Perry. So it's not my fault. But what is my fault? We're talking Doctor Who. So, Tasha, I have a question for you.
I hope I have an answer.
Season 14, 2024 series, season 1, whatever you want to call it. Summary view, really quick. Summary view as a whole. How did you enjoy? What did you think of the last season of Doctor Who?
The last season of Doctor Who had some of the best, I guess, marrying of different genres that I have seen in a very long time. And I was invested and interested all the way up to the end, all the way up to the end.
Okay. So we reached the end. And what did you think?
I'm a Star Trek girl. And there is a storyline that we do not speak of, and it is called the burn, right? Sutek might as well go and live with the burn because we don't need to talk about Sutek anymore. He's like Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno.
Wow.
I didn't like the decision with Sutek, and I didn't like the decision to kind of Ray Rose. Was her name Rose? Ruby.
Ruby. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't like I didn't like those two decisions, but of course, I didn't write this series. I'm just the consumer of it. So had a very to me, it was strong all the way up to that
To
last
that end. So let me ask you a question. You mentioned the burn. What was the character's name that was responsible for the burn?
Sukal.
Sukal. So you know what he was doing when Sutek was coming to the burn? He was standing there going, he's
that's
burning.
what all the crowd was about.
That's exactly what he knew Sutek was coming and he caused the burn.
Oh God.
Oh, all right. So how did you enjoy Millie Gibson's Ruby and Shudy's 15th Doctor?
I enjoyed both of the performances, what we had of them, and I know that the last time that I was really invested in Doctor Who, the seasons were a bit longer. We didn't get an awful lot of time with the Doctor and Ruby together because of scheduling, in real world scheduling. So I didn't get an opportunity to kind of fall in love with their friendship, but their performances and the way that they brought these characters to life, I couldn't complain about that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, one thing that I did see, and I wish that I would have had time to write down the actual figures, and I may do that on and go back and bring this back up in a future episode. But you mentioned things that we have seen. I kept hearing this feedback from fandom of, oh, well, the ratings are in the toilet. Everything is so gloom and doom. But I saw, and I want to say that it was Who Culture that did this comparison, and they compared the 2005 series not in the number of watching, but where the series or episode ranked within the week compared to how this series ranked within the week of overall viewing, and where it ranked and where 2005 ranked was pretty much neck and neck. So there may have been in 2005 5 million more viewers, but whatever was next to Doctor Who in 2024 was 3 million right there. And where in 2005, let's say it's Strictly Come Dancing, just as an example, they may have had 4 or 5 million more views than what. So in context, it seemed like it was not a quote unquote failure that a lot of people were saying.
And I wouldn't buy into that anyway. Right now, we are in an unprecedented time because this is a new way of consuming media, period. We didn't have streaming the way that we do now. And there are people who said, I will wait until I can watch Doctor Who from the beginning through the Christmas episode all in one sitting. That's the way people are thinking now. They're not thinking I have to run home and watch this because it's only coming on at this time. You can consume it at any time. So for those people who think that just because and they honestly believe that because they're not watching it, nobody is watching it. But for those people who think that, you have to think again because television is being consumed completely different now.
Case in point, the most recent season of House of Dragon. My brother started watching season 2, episode 1 at about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon and binged the entire thing, however long it took to watch, because he said he wanted to sit down and watch the entire thing. So it's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the simple fact of whether you're watching it in terrestrial TV, whether or not it's binging, we have the gift of choosing however we want to watch it. And the best gift is a Christmas special. So Clarence, Christmas special, we have a trailer. We have ham, cheese, and toasties and pumpkin pie. Thoughts?
Ham, cheese, and toasties and pumpkin latte. Anyone?
Yes, pumpkin latte. Excuse me.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. It kind of sent me down this rabbit hole that these trailers often do, where I was looking up, okay, what is Queen's Hotel in Manchester 1940, Orient Express 1962. So I was looking up all these different dates, trying to, I guess, form some type of correlation between the dates. I did not, but it does seem like it's going to be a bit of fun. If these locations somehow tie into a greater story, I think it could be a good thing. And what I did find on the Queen's Hotel Manchester 1940, it was during the Christmas Blitz in World
Mhm.
War II. So that I don't know if that's going to play into things, but yeah, I mean, a lot of these trailers, oftentimes for Doctor Who, you can never tell what's going on until we get
True.
the actual episode. This is one of the hardest series for me to kind of figure out what's going on until we see it. But that being said, I am interested to see Miss Nicola Joy, as the episode is Joy to the World, and kind of see what they do with this. I'm ready to get back to even more Christmas adventures. And I think we got on the right track last year. And yeah, I can't wait for this one. It looks like it's going to be fun.
All right, Tasha, what did you think?
Outside of the fun factor, like Clarence said, my thing is jumping out of the window and watch a trailer and then try to put the whole season together.
Yeah.
And that I'm guilty of doing stuff like that, but it's fun for me.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, and you guys tell me if I'm reaching the Silurians. I had to look up Silurians. I didn't remember Silurians, but do you think that they will play into the fact that because they're like these reptilian kind of creatures, will they play into the spinoff that I know I'm jumping ahead, but will they play into the spinoff because those are kind of
Yep.
reptilian type creatures too? Are we going in that kind of direction for next season? Is my thing.
Clarence?
So I know that in the spinoff, it's not going to be the Silurians. I know that because I I saw the panel, but seeing them pop up in this Christmas special was interesting because we know that they were here before us.
Mhm.
We know that they've somewhat coexisted with us in the deep depths of the earth. So why would one be coming out other than the ones we're famous for that we know and love? Well, the one, but this was a different one to see him pop up and around. Almost was like, are we in like a different universe or something?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's going to be interesting nonetheless.
Well, considering the fact that this is written by Stephen Moffat, there's all different ways that you could go with it. Um, I do think there's something going on with him walking through the door and asking these different people across space and time and
Yeah.
whatnot the exact same question. I do like that he is in what I consider his doctor outfit for the most part, his doctor wardrobe. The jumper or the shirt is a little bit different, the striped colors, but it's still the jacket, still the pants, still, the sneakers. So that to me, I think, there were complaints. Well, he doesn't have a look. That I think is his look.
Mhm.
If we want to think about it, that's his look. I do like the nod. We were mentioning Vastra a minute ago, kind of a nod to her. They actually, in that first part, did a nod to Vastra. The elder gentleman said something about he knew two women that lived somewhere, and the wife said, "Oh, two women, of course," or something like that. And I took that as a nod to Vastra and Jenny. So that was really really cool. I am kind of disappointed because I
Mm.
thought that we might see River Song. This is Stephen Moffat, and we still may. We're just seeing a little bit, but I was really hoping to see River Song.
Well, in the panel, the question came up: who would you like to guest star on Doctor Who? And Russell T said Alex Kingston. So, like, are
So
you trying to throw us a bone here? Like, what's
Mhm.
going on? Are you trying to foreshadow some stuff? So I did find that pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know if I could be too disappointed by not seeing her. I think I'd be more appreciative of the surprise uh, of just popping up on the episode and seeing her appear. So I don't know. I don't
mhm.
know.
So, Tasha, you mentioned, seeing the Silurians, and kind of segueing into the other thing that I want to talk about, which is the spinoff. the Sea Devils that this will be referring to and the Silurians are sort of like cousins to each other. One was land based, the other was, of course, water based. And as according to the synopsis, it says when a fearsome and ancient species emerges from the ocean, dramatically revealing themselves to humanity, an international crisis is triggered. With the entire population at risk, UNIT steps in to act, or steps to action as the land and sea wage war. Created by Doctor Who showrunner and executive producer Russell T Davies, who wrote the spinoff with executive producer Peter McTighe, and it will include the triumphant returns of the Sea Devils, classic Doctor Who villains, first seen in 1972, and it will star Russell Tovey, Gugu Mbatha Raw, Trimmer Redgrave, and Alexander Devrient. So, Tasha, thoughts on specifically the cast?
The only thing that stood out to me, and this is only because I read a whole lot of nerd stuff, because I didn't remember this, is that these two people have been in Doctor Who before as different characters, Google and oh God, what was the other ones?
Russell
Russell
Tovey.
Tovey.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm like, okay, I was looking further, and I see that they're going to be playing different characters, but it's still kind of there was two things that stood out: the war
Sea
between the
Devils.
land and the sea, between the Sea Devils, and we're thinking us, but could it be the Sea Devils and the Silurians? That's where my
I
mind was
see what you're
going.
saying.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the
nice.
other thing was these characters that we are repurposing with new identities. And we know that this happens throughout um television completely all the time. But these are, sometimes there are people that you associate. And just like Clarence said, are we doing a multiverse kind of, are we getting that kind of vibe going in Doctor Who? And if it is, what are they trying to tell us? Because everybody's doing the multiverse.
Yeah,
Clarence?
we've seen actors come back a lot in Doctor Who, and other than Peter Capaldi, I think most of the other appearances have been pretty minimal. And of course, Capaldi was on Torchwood for an entire season. Um, I'm kind of weirded out by Tish coming back as a totally different character. She was in more than one episode.
Mhm.
She was Martha. It just feels weird, man.
See, I
Although
already have canon for her. I already
although
have canon for
but
her.
but but Google is like her stardom has ballooned. She's
Mhm.
probably she's maybe one of the most famous people who have left Doctor Who, especially at the level. She wasn't even that big when she was on the show.
Mm-mm.
Um, so yeah, I'm surprised that she comes back at all. Being honestly, because she's like a huge actor now. But that being said, I'm interested to see what they do with this story. I love what Tasha is saying here. Silurians versus Sea Devils, Land versus Sea. I did not put that together, so thank you for that. Um, but yeah, I can see that happening, and maybe we have our trusty unit slash Hoovian ex Hoovian people. I mean, ex doctor people kind of jumping in to help mitigate a war or step in as a mediator or some type. I think that could be interesting. I don't know if I want to see a whole series where it's unit versus
Right.
the Sea Devils. How interesting could that be?
Because you
You
would
know,
expect it to
but
be
now
overpowered.
one thing I do want to add to this is only considered and being branded, to my knowledge, as a mini series.
Five part, yeah.
And it's a 5-part story. So told over 5 parts, 50 minutes. If you look at it from that perspective, you're going to spend the first 2 episodes setting up the premise. Then you've got the build up in the 3rd episode, and then you've got the 4th and 5th to resolve it. So there's not that many
Mhm.
fillers, I should say.
Do we know if Russell T is a showrunner for this?
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, it says he wrote the spinoff with executive producer Pete McTighe.
Interesting.
Now, here for Gugu's character, we know she was Tish, Martha's sister. She needs to come back as, and I don't know what name they will give her, but she needs to make reference to my sister died at the fall of Torchwood because Martha made a reference saying that her cousin died in the fall of Torchwood. So if this character if is Martha's cousin's sister who just happens to look like Martha's sister.
My brain hurts.
It works. But then, okay, we have that. The Google coming back, this other character whose name, I don't know why his name will stick in my head, but he's coming back. Then we have the the new the new companion who we just saw last season as someone else. So I'm wondering if all
Yeah.
of this is intentional.
Who
But
knows?
again, I break my own brain doing this. I shouldn't be doing it this season. We've got a long time, to think of these things.
Well, I keep going back to something, and I know this episode hasn't aired yet because Kyle hasn't edited it yet. But Clarence Lee and I recorded a summary of the last season, and one of the questions that I asked Clarence and Lee was, when I look back at RTD1, I look back as the entire series. I'm seeing the entire big picture. So my brain wasn't hurting because I knew everything that was going to happen. And, I'm hearing you say, well, they're bringing back these people and they're bringing back these people. And is it this and is it that? And maybe in 2027, we're looking back and saying, that was so cool when RTD did blah, blah, blah.
But you
Right.
know what? Also, I don't want to aggrandize it or hype it up too much because I think especially in recent seasons we've suffered collectively from speculating too much, and then we don't get anything near our brilliant ideas. We consider it a failure. So I don't want that. I'm going into this series like blind. I don't know anything about what's going on. Surprise me. Yeah, we know there's not going to be a doctor, so they have to do something else to make it good. Surprise me.
Mhm. So, do you think we will see more, considering the fact that we've got Kate and Colonel Sexy together again, the shipping that we saw at the end of the last season? I'm assuming that we'll see more of that relationship per se in this.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we will. I think we will. And it's a weird pair, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. So, what about anything else? There was the panel that we saw. I just really was happy to see a Doctor Who presence at San Diego Comic Con. I think the last time that we had a Doctor Who presence at Comic Con before now, I'm not sure if they were there last year or not, but I know under Chibnall's run, there was only, I believe, 1 year that they did,
Mm.
maybe 2019, 2020. So I know that there wasn't a big presence for Doctor Who at Comic Con, which there was this year. So, all right. So,
But
Clarence, go ahead.
oh well, yeah. As far as the other stuff in the panel, I did get a tidbit from um, Millie Gibson talking about her character having a relationship of sorts with a character played by Jonah Howard King.
Mm.
So he's going to be in the next season, but I don't know the exact details of what he's going to be important to Ruby in some way. So I know Tasha mentioned about Ruby's story being underwhelming. I think they kind of pull the rug from under us where we don't know that isn't the real truth. There's more to the story. So, knowing we're going to have Ruby, knowing we're going to have this other character that's important to her in the next season, I feel like there's going to be more good stuff
Mm.
to come with that character. So I'm excited about it.
So let me ask you guys this question. I read somewhere that RTD had said that in one of the things that Ruby would deal with, at least in one episode, and I don't think this is something we've ever seen in Doctor Who before, that she would be dealing with a little bit of PTSD from things that had happened from just the experience of
Mm.
traveling with the Doctor. thoughts of bringing this as you have these wonderful adventures, but the negative of that of having, this I'm thinking about Boom, where she basically dies and gets resuscitated at the last minute, when she's injured falling down a cliff. We never think of all the danger of constant danger that these people are going through. So, thoughts about dealing with PTSD as a former companion, either.
And I was even thinking about because I don't know if I heard it on discussing who when you guys were speaking about it one time, but just the fact that how long does she have to live in that alternate timeline in 73
Mm,
yards? She
mm.
lived out in like a lifetime there, and that could create a whole lot of issues post TARDIS.
Yeah, our friend Ren Gray says in the chat, post TARDIS stress disorder. I love that.
But I mean, there are so many different facets of her time, her short time to us with the Doctor, that really wasn't that short when we look at it through her lens.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess that could mess you up.
yeah, she had her own personal inner light. Um, but I heard her mention in the panel. I guess an audience member asked a question, and they asked her how it had something to do with how her character deal with it. I thought she was just talking about that more of a meta sense, but I didn't know about this news that the next season she'd be actually dealing with some of that. So
Now
I
I
do
may
find
have dreamed that, but I am pretty sure I saw that or something or read something or saw RTD say that in some degree. I did see in the panel, since you're mentioning the panel, there is an upcoming episode that she was saying was one of her favorite to record, and
mm,
because I think RTD in this particular one was confused, thinking that she was talking about 73 yards. And I think she said, no, it's in the next season.
oh, interesting,
So,
interesting. Hmm.
well, Clarence, I'm going to turn it back over to you because, to my knowledge, as of Who News, that's the bottom line. And that's it.
Okay, Frank Milton. No, nobody will get that. Nobody will get that, but Cal does. Tasha, tell people where they can find you and attend your live streams and get into your chat and all the good stuff you've been into.
I'm all over the place, y'all. You can find me on YouTube on After the Snap Movies and TV. You can also find me if you're into sports. I've been doing the sports thing on the After the Snap Blitz Report, also on YouTube. And if you are in the kind of true crime slash paranormal slash conspiracy stuff, you can find me on YouTube at Sinister Silhouettes.
Oh,
Yes, I will second that. Go to Tasha for all your sci-fi needs and more. And also would suggest that you check out our friend Wayne Grace's channel. He always has good stuff. Lately covering Futurama, I think.
Mhm.
So thank you guys for being here. A lot of great news out of the Comic Con. Not so much from Star Trek Life Las Vegas, actually. I thought we had some more news from that, but really didn't pick out anything significant from Star Trek Las Vegas. But alas, as
you
always,
need a Kyle Corny joke before we leave. You know why you didn't hear any news from Star Trek Las Vegas?
I'm sure
Want
you're
to know
going to
why?
tell me.
Because what stays in what happens in Star Trek Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas Star Trek. Thank you.
I'm so
I
happy to be here for that.
I want to. Oh God, come on, give it to me.
Because I laugh like this when you do it when I'm watching.
Come on,
God.
Clarence.
Oh God. We
Since
did. We did. Well, let me say this: we did get a little bit of news from the Orville, which Wingrace reported on this channel, that we may be getting into production early next year for the next season of the Orville. So that's a good thing. Cal, in true Cal Jones fashion, you came through with a banger there at the end,
thank
man.
you,
So,
sir.
touche, sir, touche.
Good deal. So I think it would be appropriate, since it is Tuesday, that I give a shout out once more to Lee Shackelford, since he is in Seattle probably by now, and another shout out to our friend Shannon at oz-9.com. And with that, I just want to say we'll be back next time.